Let us pray. Gracious God, may the words of my mouth, may the meditations of our hearts, our minds, our very spirits, may all of these, O God, be acceptable in your sight, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, here we are, 2019, standing atop, looking out over this fresh new year, almost as if from the summit of a mighty mountain after a fresh fallen snow. No footprint yet visible in this new year. No path yet taken, but every path still possible. Now we could simply start this new year by trudging off, as we always have, down those same old paths that we've taken before. But of course that would only leave us ending up in the same unsatisfactory places, with the same conundrums that we had last year, that had us resolving to make this year different, better. So why in the world would we do that? I mean, don't we want our lives, our world, to tell a different story? A new story? A story filled with a greater peace, with a wider justice, a more enthusiastic joy. But how can we forge that path? How can we enter into or author that kind of new story for ourselves and for others? Well, in the Bible, whenever a new chapter of faith was needed, whenever things had grown stale or gone awry, or simply needed a fresh start, the way that God initiated that was speaking through an angel. An angel spoke. And when the angel spoke, a heretofore ordinary person, as unnamed before, became an extraordinary person of faith by listening to that message and by having the courage to act on it. That is how a new story is created in the Bible. That's how it was with Noah and Abraham, with Moses, with Joseph, the Magi. To each of these, an angel said, "Go. Go to a land I will show you. Go to Pharaoh. Go and build an ark." And each time Noah or Moses, the Magi or Joseph, they said, "Yes, I will go." And when they did, with those words, with those acts, a new story began to unfold. A new story, more holy than the old story, began to be told. It is by listening and acting to angels that those people then became actually a part of the story. Their lives became entwined with the unfolding of God's hope, of God's grace on this earth and in this world. And that same thing can happen to us and for us and through us this new year. We can become a part of God's unfolding story. Our lives can become intertwined with God's grace. But only if we can hear and then listen and then follow an angel's message. Now, I'm sure you already know, I don't have to tell you, that's difficult. That is not easy. To hear and to listen and to follow angels, messages. It's hard because the angel's message so often comes, just as it did to the Magi to Joseph, in a dream-like state, in a relaxed, receptive space, enveloped in a sacred silence. When our hearts are still, our minds are quiet. But there's so little of that time in our lives. There's so little silence in our lives. For we are addicted to hurry, addicted to distraction. We are always connected to a TV, to a phone, a computer, the internet. Maybe we are so plugged in these days that our ability to listen is plugged up. Our ability to hear God's still, small voice has become less. And so if we want to tell a new story this year, we want to hear those angels, perhaps what we need to do to co-author a more healing and holy story in our lives and in this world is to resolve to unplug. To unplug our ears by unplugging our devices, by unplugging our addiction to distraction. And when we do, who knows what we'll hear? Who knows? Secondly, of course, it's hard to listen to the angel's message, not because we can't hear it, but we don't want to. Because of the content of the messages. Because the truth is, an angel's message is just not convenient. It never is. It wasn't convenient for Noah to quit his job, start building an ark big enough to carry every animal on the earth. That's not convenient. Not doing it in the sunshine when there's no clouds in sight. Explaining to his neighbors there's a flood coming. It's not comfortable explaining that to your in-laws, not to your wife, not to your children, all the while hearing ridicule from neighbors. And it certainly was no easy task gathering all the animals around the world 2 by 2 and getting them in that ark. It wasn't convenient for Moses to go and confront and make demands of Pharaoh, who at the time was the most powerful person on the earth. And it wasn't convenient for Joseph to suddenly trek 300 miles across the Sinai desert with a newborn baby child. It would be more convenient for them, it would be more convenient for us, simply to be addicted to distraction and hurry than hear all these angels' messages of a convenience. Angels' messages interrupt our plans. They ask us to do what really we would rather not do. I just want to watch the Patriot game this afternoon. That's all I want to do. Angels' messages demand that we be willing to endure hardship so that the redemptive story of God's love can be heard and can be written upon the lives of others. Are we that willing? Lastly, an angel speaks through, well, let's just call it this, unusual means through people of dubious repute. God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. Moses himself had murdered another person. Moses had a speech impediment. Paul of the Christian church was a murderer of and an enemy of the first Christians. He persecuted them, arrested them, had them stoned. But then, of course, Paul became the most prolific messenger of the good news of the Christian church. Angels, you see, they come in the skies. In the skies, often in the form of people that we disagree with. in the form of people that we have already judged lacking and unworthy to listen to, in those we deem too young, too old, too feeble, too something. To listen, to truly listen to an angel, to God, to someone else, it requires of us that we believe that they have something to say which is important to us. It takes a willingness on our part to be changed by the one speaking. And that can be hard. It takes courage. It takes a forgiving and a generous heart. It takes an ability to see in another that they may just be an angel. And so here it is. Days into 2019. Here we stand upon this new year, so fresh, so full of possibility. Whatever path available to us, it's all possible. So what path will we take? What story will our lives this year tell? I don't know. But if we are able to create in 2019 a little bit more space for sacred silence in our lives, if we can just a little bit more still our hearts, free our minds to God's holy whisper. If we can but imagine strangers, those different than us, might actually be angels with something to offer us. If we have the willingness to be inconvenienced, to endure discomfort, a little hardship, so that God's redemptive story of love does not end, but lives on in us, as it did for people of faith before us, then in the unfolding of that story, I promise you that we will find our own blessing. We will find our own healing and a joy beyond everything that we ever could have imagined becomes possible. May that be the story that we all write in 2019. Amen.